long before the magnificent temple cities of Angkor Wat and the reigns of powerful god-kings. The story of Cambodia began in a much humbler way. It started not with empires, but with small communities scattered across fertile plains, winding rivers, and lush tropical forests. This was the village-state era, a formative period that laid the very foundations for one of Southeast Asia's greatest civilizations. Join us as we journey back in time to explore how simple settlements of families transformed into organized societies, each with its own leaders, beliefs, and unique way of life. This is the story of Cambodia's dawn. Thousands of years ago, the land we now know as Cambodia was a mosaic of vibrant ecosystems. The mighty Mekong River, the vast Tonle Sap Lake, and countless smaller streams crisscrossed the landscape, providing a lifeline for its earliest inhabitants. People lived in small clusters, building their homes on stilts to stay safe from seasonal floods. These communities were essentially extended families, living together in wooden houses surrounded by dense forests, sprawling wetlands, and fertile ground teeming with life. In these early days, survival depended on the bounty of nature. People were skilled fishers, hunters, and gatherers. They knew the rhythms of the forest and the secrets of the rivers. But a monumental shift was on the horizon, one that would change their world forever: the cultivation of rice. Learning to plant, grow, and harvest this vital grain was a revolutionary step. For the first time, food could be produced in surplus, stored for lean times, and shared among the community. This agricultural breakthrough allowed villages to support larger populations, leading to more complex and settled societies. The simple family cluster was evolving. As rice harvests became more reliable, the bonds between families strengthened. A sense of community grew, and people began to work together for the common good. Labor became more specialized. While some remained farmers, others honed their skills as hunters, tracking game in the deep woods. Some became toolmakers, shaping stone and wood into essential implements. Others became builders, constructing sturdy homes and communal structures. With this growing complexity, a new form of leadership began to emerge. It wasn't based on royal lineage or military might, but on wisdom and respect. The community turned to its elders, men and women who had lived long lives and accumulated a wealth of experience. These elders guided important decisions, such as how to allocate land for farming, how to manage precious water resources, and how to resolve disputes between neighbors. These were not yet kingdoms ruled by kings, but they were becoming organized village societies, each developing its own distinct traditions, identity, and a shared sense of belonging. The pace of change quickened with the arrival of new technologies. Villagers learned the art of metallurgy, first crafting tools from bronze and later from the much stronger and more durable iron. Metal axes and blades made it far easier to clear dense forests, opening up new lands for agriculture. The invention of pottery was another game changer. Ceramic pots allowed for better storage of rice and water, improving food security and hygiene. People also became incredibly skilled weavers, creating intricate baskets, fishing nets, and traps that made gathering resources from the rivers and forests more efficient than ever before. In some of the more advanced villages, a truly transformative innovation appeared: irrigation. By digging canals and channels, farmers learned to guide the seasonal floodwaters into their rice paddies, ensuring a more consistent and abundant harvest. More food meant more people, and greater stability allowed for social and cultural development. The village was slowly but surely transforming into a self-sufficient entity, what we might call a village-state community with its own economic engine, social structure, and spiritual heart. Uniting these early communities was a deep and powerful spiritual connection to the world around them. They held animistic beliefs, seeing spirits in the land, the forests, the rivers, and the very sky above. These spirits were not distant gods, but active forces that influenced daily life. Villagers offered prayers and made offerings to these spirits, asking for life-giving rain, protection from danger, and, most importantly, a bountiful harvest. Spiritual leaders, often called shamans or healers, played a central role in village life. They were the intermediaries between the human and spirit worlds, conducting rituals, advising the community, and guarding ancient traditions. They were also the keepers of knowledge about medicinal plants and healing practices. Ancestor worship was another cornerstone of their spiritual world. People believed that the spirits of their ancestors watched over them, offering guidance and protection. To honor them, villagers built simple shrines from materials like stone, wood, or clay. These humble structures were the earliest expressions of a spiritual and artistic culture that would, over many centuries, blossom into the grand temple-building traditions of the Khmer Empire. As villages grew more prosperous, they didn't remain isolated. They began to interact and trade with their neighbors, creating a web of connections across the region. A village near a salt source might trade its precious mineral for rice from a farming community. A village skilled in metalworking might exchange its iron tools for pottery or woven textiles. Forest products like exotic woods, resins, and animal hides were also valuable trade goods. Early trade routes began to form, following rivers and well-worn paths that stretched across what is now Cambodia, Thailand, Vietnam, and Laos. Over time, these networks expanded even further, connecting the inland communities to the coast. Traders from distant lands from India, China, and the islands of Southeast Asia began to arrive, bringing with them not just new goods, but new ideas, new beliefs, and new technologies. These foreign contacts were a powerful catalyst for change, introducing concepts that would eventually shape Cambodia's writing systems, its religious practices, and its political structures. The world of the village was getting bigger. With the growth of agriculture and trade, wealth and power began to concentrate. Some villages, strategically located along trade routes or possessing exceptionally fertile land, grew into influential regional centers. In these prominent communities, the nature of leadership began to shift. The old council of elders was gradually replaced by a single, powerful figure, charismatic chief. These chiefs often controlled key resources, such as land, water, and access to trade. They built their authority by forming alliances, protecting their territory from rivals, and distributing wealth among their followers. Competition between neighboring chiefdoms sometimes led to conflict, but it also spurred greater political organization. Slowly, the first protestates began to take shape. These were small political units, essentially a collection of villages ruled by a dominant chief, all connected through ties of kinship, trade alliances, and shared spiritual beliefs. They were not yet the organized, centralized kingdoms that would come later. But they were the crucial stepping stones, the political embryos from which the great states of Funan and Chenla would eventually emerge. By the end of this long era, Cambodian society had been fundamentally transformed. Agriculture was no longer just one way of life, it was the very center of it. Advanced tools and metallurgy had revolutionized productivity, allowing for unprecedented growth. Shared spiritual beliefs created a strong sense of cultural identity, uniting people within and across communities. A vibrant network of trade-connected villages into a regional economy, bringing in both wealth and new ideas from afar. And finally, leadership structures had evolved from informal councils of elders to more organized chiefdoms. These profound changes set the stage for the next, even more dramatic chapter in Cambodia's history. The innovations, social structures, and cultural foundations forged during the village-state era were not lost. They were the fertile ground from which the early kingdoms of Funan and Chenla, and later the glorious Angkor Empire, would rise. The village-state era is the often overlooked first chapter of Cambodia's epic story, a testament to human ingenuity, cooperation, and the timeless power of transformation. Thank you for joining us on this journey into Cambodia's ancient past. If you found this story fascinating, please like this video and subscribe to our channel for more deep dives into history. Let us know in the comments what part of this era you find most interesting. See you next time.